Hello guys, recently I asked you on Instagram to ask me any questions you have and this video is all about that. I'm gonna answer your questions. This is the first ever Q&A video I'm doing. So grab a cup of coffee and let's jump straight into the questions. So the first question I'm gonna answer is the most frequent question I get, which is how many years am I playing? So I've been playing since I was 13 years old and I'm now 29 years old, so roughly 16 to 17 years of playing the guitar. I started playing a classical guitar. I started learning the proper classical training, but then I grew my hair longer. I bought an electric guitar and then I never played classical again. Although I really think it helped me because I can play with my fingers as well as a pick, and in a hybrid scenario I'm really comfortable to play with both my fingers and a pick. So the next question is what strings I can recommend. So I've been using the Ernie Ball 10 to 47 for, I would say, 6 to 7 years now, maybe more than that, and I'm really happy with them. I never broke a string since I've been using these strings. I like the tension, and I've been experimenting with tuning my guitars half step down. And they work really well. I might increase the gauge a bit for this tuning, but it works really good for all of my guitars, which I use for all of my electrics, which includes this as well, which is a 1964 Gibson ES120T, and it's has a good wooden bridge. So even on this guitar I'm still using the 10 to 46, and I will highly recommend it. Any tool covers. I'm not really that good of a guitar player to play tool, but if you guys want, please let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna attempt to cover one of their songs. How do I get my backing tracks? So that's another question I get a lot, and I usually write my own backing tracks because of copywriting issues. So I'd rather be safe than trying to work with copyright issues. I'm planning to do a whole video about it, so please leave a like on this video if you want me to do a video on how I create my backing tracks. But essentially I'm using Logic Pro X, and I'm using they have a nice drummer feature that I'm using a lot. I have a bass, I have a couple of guitars, I have a keyboard, so I'm playing everything as best as I can to create a backing track for my videos and for any other purposes. What's your favorite chord progression? That's a really difficult question to answer because there are so many chord progressions out there, but I like the blues. I love the blues actually, so I would say a 12-bar blues would be my favorite chord progression. Although I like simple chord progressions as well. I don't like to use so many chords, and I don't, for my own music at least, I don't like the complex chord progressions. I like to build an idea up into a climax, if that makes sense, instead of trying to complicate the song with a lot of chord progressions. How are you, bro? I'm really good, thank you for asking. I'm doing alright. I cannot wait for the winter to end. I'm excited for spring and summer. I'm excited to go to visit my family back in Greece and enjoy the sun. Here in London is, as you can see from behind me, the window is always cloudy, always raining, always cold, so yeah, all good. Favorite Stevie Ray Vaughan song? I would say The Little Wing. I love his cover, I love his version. I think it's really emotional, but then again he has the strong Stevie Ray Vaughan feel and power, which I really love. So I would say this is my favorite. You got a great tone, what do you use? Thank you for thinking that I have a great tone, I really appreciate it. I've made an in-depth video about the gear I'm using. You can find it here. This video contains everything apart from what guitars am I using, which I'm gonna do another video in the future about all of my guitars and the pedals as well. But for this question, my answer is to check this video out because it's an in-depth video of what gear am I using, laptops, interfaces, and all of these things. So yeah, check it out. Gain from the amp, pedals, or both? I would say both. I'm a believer that you can definitely get a really nice tone from an amp, but why not use pedals as well with the amp? My favorite combo at the moment is a Fender Princeton with just a tiny bit of overdrive, a tube screamer, or a treble booster, which I'm using the Boostass at the moment, which is a pedal we built for Vintage Guitar Nerds a few years back, and I really love it, and yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. I'm a bit biased because it's one of my products, but I really believe in this product and I really use it a lot, so I would say a combination of both. I love my Marshalls, I love my Fenders, I love Amplitude as well, which I'm using a lot. But I always use a pedal for just a bit of a mojo, and just it depends on the context of the band or the song, but I'm always gonna use a pedal for a bit of a drive. My dream vintage guitar, that's a really interesting question, and I would say not something you wouldn't expect, but a 59 Les Paul, a 1959 Les Paul was and still is my dream guitar to own. These things are really expensive, so I don't think I'm gonna own one really soon, but someday I might, hopefully, unless the prices go up and up and up, which I'm sure they will. But yeah, 59 Les Paul would be my dream guitar. How old are you? I'm 29 years old. I was born in 1992 in August, and yeah, I'm 29 years old. I'm about to turn 30 in a few months, so yeah. Gibson sounds or Fender sounds? This is one of the most difficult questions I have to answer, because I love both sounds. I grew up with Gibsons and Fenders, but I have a bit of a familiarity with Gibsons. I always liked Gibson guitars. This was always my dream to own a Gibson, Les Paul, or any other Gibsons, and I've managed to have 3 at the moment, which is a blessing. I wasn't really into how Stratocaster sounds, and I wasn't really into that sound, which sounds a bit weird if you're following my career to this point, because last year I bought a Squire, and it changed my the way I look at the Stratocaster, which is strange, right? I've played with a bunch of vintage Strats, custom shops, and all over. Like I've played with a lot of Strats because I used to work in London, in Denmark still, for a couple of years, and I've tried a lot of things, and I never clicked with any Strats. I clicked with a few, but I couldn't afford them because they were costing me an arm and a leg. But yeah, when I bought my Stratocaster, I suddenly thought this sounds amazing, and I can use this, and it's really more expressive than a Les Paul can be, in my opinion. But I really love the Les Paul sound, or the Gibson sound, and that's why I own 2 Les Pauls at the moment, and I will never sell them, and I will never stop playing Les Pauls because they have a really unique sound. But for my answer, I would say I think Gibsons are more versatile than Fenders, although people think the other way around. I think Gibsons can play way more stuff than a Stratocaster or Telecaster can play. So comment below, what do you think? Do you prefer Gibsons or Fenders? Favorite artist? So this is one of the hardest questions I have to answer, because I've been influenced by so many artists out there, so many great musicians. It's really hard to pick one, but if I would say just pick one, I would stick with Pink Floyd, and especially David Gilmour. I think his guitar playing is really unique and really expressive. Although he's not technically the best guitar player out there, I love his sound, I love his tone, and I love how he connects with the instrument and how he can translate that into emotions. So yeah, David Gilmour would be my favorite one. With what you know now, what route would you recommend a beginner to take in learning? So that's a really interesting question, and the answer is straight. If you can afford to do one-to-one lessons, that's the best option, the best thing you can do if you're serious about learning how to play the guitar. I would say YouTube, although it has a lot of information, it's not really a really good practice, because because of the information out there, it's really overwhelming, and it's really difficult to choose what to learn and how to structure a roadmap for you to grow and learn step by step, I guess, process. I would say one-to-one lessons would be ideal, but if you can afford that, you can join membership groups. If you're interested, I do one-to-one lessons via Zoom, so feel free to send me an email. You can find the email below. Or we have a membership site with Vintage Guitar Nerds, where each month you will get a new course and different topics, and you will see the roadmap of step by step, and I will guide you through what the necessary steps is to learn to become a great guitar player. Please tell us about your red Stratocaster. So I've made a whole video about it, so you can check it here. What was your first guitar? So my first ever guitar was a really cheap classical 3/4 guitar that I think I paid 60 euros for it. I bought this guitar as a kid, and I started playing around, and I didn't know how a guitar works, and nobody in my family knew how a guitar works. So this is a funny story actually. When I got the guitar, I thought as a kid, obviously, in order for the guitar to be in tune, the tuners had to be in line. So this is how I used to tune my guitar. So I was putting the buttons in line with each other. So the first thing my teacher did, she took my guitar and she tuned the guitar to a standard tuning. So everything I've learned till this point had suddenly disappeared, and everything was so strange for me. So I had to relearn everything from scratch, which it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's a fun story to know. So when you discovered your music style, so that's a really interesting question, because I believe that I haven't discovered my music style yet. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to play and what songs I'm writing. So what I believe is that music and songwriting in general is a journey that you go through different steps and you go different phases. So some days you might have a different phase, and sometimes you can get into electronic music or blues or rock or different kind of vibe. So yeah, I don't think I have a music style per se, but I think what you mean is the vibe I'm giving off and the sound I'm creating. I think it comes from really enjoying Pink Floyd's music and really enjoying Peter Green and all of these guitarists, and picking different things from each guitarist and combining them all together and messing with effects, messing with different pickups and guitars and amps to create something that resonates with what I want to express as an artist. Do you like the US, even if it's quite different from London? Yes, I love the US. I've been only to New York and Miami in Florida, which they're totally different cities, but I love both cities. I love New York a bit more than Miami, to be honest, but Miami has this vibe, the chill vibe on the beach and doing nothing, which is fun, but not for a long time, for me at least. London is not my hometown. I was raised in Athens, and I moved to London in 2019, so in the last 3 years I've been living in London. I'm thinking in changing from apps to plugins. Should I go with Amplitude or bias effect? I would say I've never tried bias effects, but I heard it's really good. I've never personally tried it. If I were to talk about Amplitude, I really like how the plugin works and how well it works with my Focusrite interface. I will do an in-depth demo about Amplitude for another video, because this video is getting too long. And if you're interested, please let me know in the comments of what you want me to cover for Amplitude, and I'm happy to do a video about that. I missed the lick of the week. They were awesome. Thank you for missing the lick of the week. The lick of the week is gonna come back, I promise. It's been really busy lately, but I have a few licks prepared and ready to go, so I'm gonna start it really soon, probably even this weekend, but I will see how it goes. But thank you for liking them. And if you don't know about the lick of the week, it's a series I did for vintage guitar nerds. You can find the licks in the description below. I've made, I think, 25 or 30 lick of the week, so every week I come up with a lick and I teach you how to play the lick, and there's a tab and a whole lesson on that lick, which is really fun, but it takes a bit of time to create, so that's why I haven't been doing this for the past few months, but I will get back to it because I really enjoy it, and the feedback is really good as well. So yeah, I'm gonna bring that back. And the last question is, do you like to play acoustic guitars? And the answer is, of course, yes, I love acoustic guitars. One thing that I love about acoustic guitars is that you can actually write a song just with your guitar without any amps, DAWs or laptops or whatever. You can sit down and figure a chord progression and you can start strumming a song, which is really fun and a nice thing to do. I don't really play acoustic guitar as a main instrument, but I own a couple of acoustic guitars, and this is one of the reasons I bought this one, which is it's semi-acoustic, so it doesn't have a center block, so it's sounds like an acoustic, but not quite as loud as Dreadnought would sound. Anyway, that was the last question. Thank you everybody who asked me the questions. If you do not follow me on Instagram, I will have the links below. You can follow me there. Please let me know in the comments what other videos you like me to do. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload a new video. And I will see you on the next one.